It's got to be the goal, doesn't it? Cape Town Correctional Services spending last night visiting parolees. They were checking if they were complying with their release conditions. Today they'll be searching cells and inmates at Pollsmoor prison. It's all part of what I understand to be a national festive season security operations plan. So not very festive, of course, for those still imprisoned over the festive season. Ayesha Ismail, good morning to you, but still a very important part of the job to get done, isn't it?
Yes, good morning, Gareth. So last night we spent quite a lot of time out with correctional services officials, as well as the South African Police Services, and also some of the law enforcement officers from the city of Cape Town. And as you correctly pointed out, this is all about festive season safety and security. But I'm now at Pollsmoor prison, and I'm joined by the Acting Commissioner of Correctional Services, Mahoti Tobahale. So we went on I don't want to call it a raid, but you went to go and check on parolees last night. What was the purpose of that visit?
The purpose of the visit was to do what we normally do. So we monitor parolees in line with the conditions that have been set as they serve the remainder of their sentence in the parole system. So we utilize their profiles and their files and the reports from their community corrections officers. Some of them we found that they did not comply with their conditions. What we do, we then record the transgression and we issue them out with a disciplinary note. They were the last two that we went to. Those two had reached a final warning level in terms of the compliance notices we were giving them. The only option that was left was for us to arrest them. So we got one of them. The other one we are still working with SAPS to rearrest because if they don't meet the conditions of their parole, they then present a risk to the community, a risk of reoffending. So before they actually do that, we come in through our monitoring mechanism. What you saw last night, we rearrest them and we put them back into our facilities for them to get more and more rehabilitated, for them to attend more correctional programs, and then they serve the rest of their sentences.
Commissioner, now the people that you visited last night, these were people who committed sexual offences. And what we've seen recently, correctional services coming under fire for releasing people on parole, and then they go and they reoffend, and particularly for murder and rape. And because we, at the beginning of the 16 days of activism, against violence and children, last night, as you mentioned, those two people who absconded, and one of them actually was in prison for raping a minor. And he was the one who tried to escape last night. And that is what angers the community, asking why are these rapists and murderers allowed out on parole and then they go out and they reoffend?
The parole system considers an offender eligible after they would have gone through rehabilitation and correctional programs. When an offender gets into our facility after they are referred to us by the court to start serving their sentence, we do an assessment. We consider the crime that they committed and we develop a sentence plan. On the basis of that plan, we then work with them on programs for rehabilitation and corrections. We assess them through our professionals. We have criminologists, we have psychologists, we have social workers. They then provide to the parole board a report that would have made an assessment in terms of where we can classify the offender. That it's on the basis of that classification, and also victim-offender dialogue, and also victim empowerment discussions that we then, through the parole board, and the parole boards are independent, the conditions for them to consider an offender for parole are dictated to by the law and the regulations. So we have a strict regime, but to make sure that we do not expose the community to more danger, we also have the Community Corrections Unit in the Department of Correctional Services. Those are the ones that we went out with last night. They visit The parolees, they make sure that the parolees stick to the conditions. If they don't stick to the conditions, we end up rearresting them. That's just to make sure that we eliminate the risk of them committing crime again, or crimes that are even more horrendous than the ones that they would have been arrested and sentenced for.
Do you sometimes make mistakes by releasing people on parole?
We do not make mistakes, as I indicate. You have to pass a strict test. That's why even at the moment, we have some of the offenders that are not happy with the fact that instead of a recommendation coming out that they must go on parole, what we actually do is to give them what we call further referrals. Now, further referrals is a stage where we would have identified that this offender doesn't pass the test to be considered for parole. If they don't pass the test in terms of the regulations and the Act, we do not release them.
Commissioner, you also came here to Pollsmoor prison to search some of your own members. What did you find?
Well, with those that I searched, I did not find anything, but we are going now to do a tally of the work that we have done since last night. You are going to be able to see the visuals. But the essence of us searching our members also is that we know, and we often catch our members being the ones that transport contrabands, illegal stuff into our own facilities. When we find those, we actually call SAPs, we open cases, they get arrested, but at the same time, as correctional services, we have our own disciplinary processes that are dictated to by the Public Service Act and regulations, and also the Correctional Services Act. So we do find those that break the law. We also do find those that break regulations with regards to what they are supposed to bring and not bring into the workspace.
Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you.
And that was the Acting National Commissioner for Correctional Services, and we're here at Pollsmoor Prison this morning.